Our Miami Marlins are back in the playoffs as we have got the wild card round against the Los Angeles Dodgers. We'll be playing games 1 and 2 today, possibly the only 2 games of the series, depending on how it goes, considering it is a best of 3. I know it's been a little while since the last episode, and I did warn you guys this would happen, to be fair, but I'm excited to be back and ready to go for our team's playoff run. The Marlins went 90-72, which was the exact same record we had last year. We also finished with the same seeding, getting the 4th spot in the National League, which is the #1 wild card. Here's a look at the rest of the playoffs for the NL, with the Cubs and Padres winning their divisions, and then the Dodgers and Phillies grabbing the final 2 wild card spots over the Mets. As for the American League, the Rays, Guardians, and Rangers won their divisions, with the Angels, Astros, and Red Sox grabbing the 3 wild card spots. Before we get into our first 2 games against the Dodgers, we will be going over our studs and duds of the year for the majors and minors, as voted on by you guys during the last episode. If you guys would like to skip right over to the playoffs, I'll leave a timestamp in the description, but if you'd like to see the stud and duds of the years and see how their ratings change, let's take a look. So we will start off in the big leagues, and we'll start off positive with our 3 stud of the years. The overwhelming first place winner, to no surprise, is going to be Edward Cabrera, who got well over half the vote. Cabrera had a fantastic season. In my opinion, he was the best pitcher, not just on the team, but in the MLB, period. His numbers across the board are spectacular. He led all pitchers in WAR by a good .3. Amongst qualified pitchers, he was the comfortable leader in home runs per 9, and then really every advanced statistic you can find. FIP, he was the qualified leader among starters. In component ERA, you can take a guess who ended up being in first place amongst qualified starters. It was Edward Cabrera. The numbers don't lie. He had an utterly ridiculous season. The stat that obviously pops out to me is the home runs per 9. Last year, he allowed 10 homers. This year, he allowed 9. That's 19 home runs within a 2-year span. That's ridiculous. How Roki Sasaki won the Cy Young, I will not understand. Sasaki allowed 32 homers this season. Sasaki threw more innings and allowed a lot less walks, but other than that, Cabrera's WAR was up by 1.5 points, and then all the advanced statistics favor Cabrera as well. He absolutely should have won the Cy Young, and in my opinion, got robbed. But he's not going to get robbed here for the stud of the year. Since he ended up winning, his rating and potential will go up by 3. He is now a 96 overall, one of the highest rated pitchers in the entire game, and his potential will slide up from 94 up to 97. Very well deserved. You could argue we had the 2 most talented pitchers atop the rotation, along with Tarek Skubal, who's a great #3. This bodes well for us here in the wild card round, but our lack of starting pitching depth could be a concern through the rest of the playoffs. Bryan De La Cruz ended up having 2nd place. He had a very strong season, especially early on, but even as the year went along, he continued to play really well. And the biggest thing I noticed from him is that he really improved on his weaknesses. Defensively, he has been a liability, but this year, he was very serviceable. He has not ever been a good hitter in the clutch. He hit .272 with runners in scoring position, which was one of the higher marks on the roster. I think part of being the stud of the year is a guy who's been able to face adversity and improve on their weaknesses, and that's exactly what Bryan De La Cruz has done. So his rating will go up by 2 as a result of getting 2nd place, and his potential will also go up by 2, up to an 84. It appears he's pretty much reached his ceiling, but this is a pretty damn good ceiling. Jesus Sanchez ended up getting 3rd place, so his stuff will go up by 1. Sanchez was a glorified platoon player. He mostly played only against righties, but he still played 2/3 of the games. When he did play against lefties, though, he was quite good, and that is his weakness. He has never really been able to hit lefties. That is until this year. He only had 67 at-bats, which isn't a big sample size, but it's not nothing either, and he hit around 300. This is a guy who I'm going to feel more comfortable with being in the lineup against left-handed starting pitching, now that I know that he can do it to an extent. So his rating will go up by 1, his potential will go up by 1, and unlike De La Cruz, it still feels like there is some untapped potential with Jesus Sanchez. A lot of people thought that Woody Landry belonged on the stud of the year ballot, and I understand why. Woody Landry was our best offensive player. He took a massive leap up from his rookie season, but Woody Landry was always expected to be really good. Maybe not this good this quick, but he was expected to be a star for us. Now we're going to go through our dud of the years, and unfortunately for Nick Fortes, he ends up being the ultimate loser. Fortes has benefited more than anybody in this series with the stud and dud of the year program, as his rating and potential have gone up by 8 as a result. Well, he's about to lose 3 of those points. Fortes missed around half the year with an injury. He did play better as the season went along, and he did have a positive WAR of around 2, which is certainly a respectable mark. Compared to other starting catchers around the big leagues, he wasn't terrible, but the expectation for him was a lot higher. His rating will go down by 3, and his potential will go down by 3, meaning that he now has C potential. Very unfortunate. Gennaro Miller ends up getting second place, but with a caveat, this only affects his standing as a pitcher. 20 starts, only 5 of them were quality starts, and he does have all the excuses in the world going for him, considering he's a two-way player who was pretty good offensively up until the final weeks of the year. But he's also on a $60 million contract, and there is more of an expectation for him to produce than the way he played. Again, the caveat is his rating only goes down as a pitcher. I'm not touching any of his offensive ratings, but his pitching will go down by 2, and his potential will still go down by 2 as well. Gavin Lux ends up getting third place, so he will only go down by 1 across the board. He had a very similar season to Fortes. He got hurt early, came back, and was nothing more than blah. He had a 2.2 WAR, but the numbers just aren't really all that impressive. 256 is low for him. And he's had a hard time staying healthy. In Season 1, he missed over half the year. The season we traded for him, he missed over 40 games. And then over the last 2 years, he's missed nearly a full season. The 2.2 WAR looks nice, but the rest of the numbers do not look good, especially for a guy whose contract is up after this year. So his rating will only go down by 1, along with his potential, which isn't the end of the world for his long-term development, but still not ideal. Let's now look at the minor league stud and duds of the year. Our minor league stud of the year was by far the closest race, and it ended up going to first baseman Isaac Stu, who had a ridiculous season in Double-A. It almost feels like Woody Landry is in our farm system all over again. Isaac Stu led the Double-A Southern League in pretty much every statistical offensive category. I don't think he was as good as minor league Woody Landry, and I don't think he has the long-term upside that Woody has, but he is still a remarkably advanced offensive prospect for somebody who's 18 years old. And because of that, his rating and potential will go up by 3, which is a very big deal for a young guy like him, especially considering the fact that I think he will be able to contribute at the big league level as soon as next year. So he will go up to a 78, and his potential is now an A. It'll go from an 87 to a 90. Very exciting. Tyrell Berry ends up getting second place. I thought Berry should have won over Isaac Stu, but I get it. Isaac Stu was awesome. 27 starts, 23 quality starts. Berry led all Double-A players in WAR. He was pretty much the Isaac Stu of pitching. He was atop the Southern League in pretty much every statistical category. First in innings pitched, first in whip, top 3 in just about everything else. With Isaac Stu being a first-round pick and being more far along, I did have more early expectations for him, which is why I thought Berry should won. But still, nonetheless, Berry gets second. He'll go up by 2, and his potential is now an 89. He's going to be able to contribute to the majors a lot sooner than I expected. Esteury Ruiz ends up getting third, which I always assumed would be the case. His numbers are the worst of the group, but I still feel like he was impressive, all things considered. Obviously, his base running ability is a major asset, and because of that, we will have him on the postseason roster for the big league team, and all of his ratings will go up by 1. So that's a nice little addition for him as well. His potential will go up by 1 as well, but it's really about his speed and his defensive versatility that's a major asset for us going forward into the playoffs. Khalil Watson is the loser of the dud of the year. He was unbelievably disappointing. A guy who I thought would contribute in the majors. We had him down in AAA for the first month of the year, and he really struggled, so I kept him there. He continued to struggle, went down to AA, and continued to play poorly. His total WAR on the year was around 2. I called him up for the final week of the year just to salvage what has been a disaster of a season for him. His rating and potential will go down by 3. I still see a future for Khalil Watson in the organization, but his stock as a prospect definitely goes down. The one silver lining is that he's only 22 years old. Johnny Lundy ends up getting second place. He's a 75 overall, which is better than Nomo and Berry, but the numbers are just really unimpressive. Lundy missed a large chunk of the year with an injury, and he had a pretty good WAR at 1.8. but none of the numbers back up that high WAR. The advanced stats are not good, the regular numbers are not good, and for being a 75 overall, you should be shoving in Double-A, and that just was not really the case with Johnny Lundy. So his ratings will go down by 2, and his potential will take a dip as well. Not ideal for a guy who already has a pretty limited ceiling as is. Joel Beltran ends up getting 3rd place. Beltran has been a fine player for us in Double-A over the last few years, but that's just kind of the problem with him. He hasn't really gotten better. He's still a 220 hitter who hits for decent power, plays pretty good defense. The WAR is going to look good because he's a catcher. And it's not that he was bad this year, but he just hasn't gotten better. This is a guy who we invested a high draft pick in, a competitive, balanced first-rounder back in Season 1. And it's not like he's 21 years old. He's going to be 25 next year. He's not getting any younger. And to put things in perspective, Woody Landry next year will still be a year younger than Joel Beltran was when we drafted him. So Beltran's got to pick it up because, well, time is ticking. He's not getting any younger. So those are our studs and duds of the year for the majors and the minors. Now all focus is on the playoffs and the Los Angeles Dodgers here, but we've got to decide who will be on the playoff roster. We have 31 guys currently on the team, and we've got to send 5 off. Jorge Alcala will be the first one. He did not play in the big leagues this year. Pretty easy choice. Max Meyer will be the second one. Since this is only a 3-game series, our back-end starting pitchers are going to be used as our long relievers, and because of that, we don't really need Meyer, but if we advance in the playoffs, we certainly will. Aurelio Martinez is a pretty good player, but we have depth in the infield, so we're going to take him off. I like Joe Shearer. When he's played, he's been good, but he's only pitched 17 big league innings. I haven't built up that trust with him, and the same can be said with Steven Alez. When he's pitched, he's been really good, but he's only thrown around 30 innings, and he's only 19 years old. I'd rather stick it out with our veterans going into the playoffs, guys who I trust, guys who have been there, done that. This team has been together in the playoffs before. Last year, we were the 4 seed. We played the Diamondbacks in the wild card round, and we lost the series 2-1. So now we know what it takes to win a playoff series. We won that first game with Edward Cabrera on the mound, but then we fell flat the last 2, losing them both. Cabrera will start in the first game. He basically is the ace of the staff now. He is our best pitcher. Sandy Alcantara will pitch in the second game, and then if we need a game 3, that would be in the next episode, and Tarek Skubal would be scheduled to pitch that. Let's look at our opponent here, the Los Angeles Dodgers, who always have a loaded roster, but not so much this year. They only won 85 games. They're only the 15th ranked team in the game. Now, they do not lack star power. They've got Shohei Ohtani on their squad, who finished in 2nd place for the MVP, only behind another Dodger, O'Neal Cruz. They still have many other high-level players. Freddie Freeman is still here. Mookie Betts hasn't really lost a step. Brendan Donovan won the National League batting title, but a lot of the young guys haven't really progressed, and the rest of the lineup is very mediocre. The pitching is not super deep, but that's not an issue since it would be a maximum of a 3-game series. Ohtani will pitch Game 1, Tony Gonsolin will pitch Game 2, and if we need a Game 3, it'll be the former Marlin Jesus Luzardo on the mound. That would be quite the storyline. Their bullpen isn't bad, but it's not great. I will say, though, the thing that scares me about the Dodgers is their experience. Within this series, they've made the World Series twice, winning it 2 years ago back in 2024, with pretty much this entire core on that roster. So they know how to win a World Series together, and they have some of the talent to do it again. Let's get playoff baseball started off here in South Beach. The Miami Marlins have made it back to the postseason for consecutive seasons for the first time in team history. Last year, they lost in the first round to the Diamondbacks. That was the first time that the Marlins had made the playoffs and not won the World Series, not counting 2020 because that was a Mickey Mouse year that should not count. The Marlins are going to be rocking with their alternate classic throwbacks here for Game 1, spicing it up. Look good, play good. You guys should know the saying. As we take a look at both lineups in just a moment, with it being the playoffs, both teams are trotting out pretty much their best 9 players. You're not going to be giving guys days off in the playoffs. Let's take a look at Edward Cabrera, who I think statistically was the best pitcher in baseball this year. He led all pitchers in WAR and was absolutely robbed from the Cy Young. He's now a 96 overall and is better than ever. He'll get Freddie Freeman to check his swing on the sinker. Freeman, not the player he once was, but still a productive bat at the top of the order. Brendan Donovan, the National League batting champion, grounds out to short. And the fish will retire the side. Not a bad start for Edward Cabrera, the best pitcher in baseball. But now let's get a look at the best player in baseball, that being Shohei Ohtani, who had a ridiculous season offensively. He had a ridiculous season on the mound. He really should have won MVP over Oneil Cruz because, well, Oneil Cruz doesn't pitch. But that's besides the point. Brian De La Cruz goes down on the slider. That pitch outside, up and away. And that'll bring up Jazz Chisholm, the National League MVP a couple years ago. He's behind 1-2, and he gets plunked. That's one way to get your first base runner of the game. I mean, that works. And that'll bring up Woody Landry. For a 19-year-old last year, Woody Landry was pretty good in the playoffs as he rips this one up the middle for a hit. Jazz Chisholm looking to make his way over to third. He is safe. In the 3 playoff games that at the time 19-year-old Woody Landry played in, he had 5 hits and 2 homers. Not bad. Obviously, the Marlins did not win this series, but certainly not to his fault. Runners on the corners for Bo Bichette, who swings at a splitter in the dirt. That's a bad miss from Bo Bichette in his first postseason at bat as a Marlin, as Shohei gets out of the jam. Bottom 2, Cabrera looking to retire the side again as he faces off against Mookie Betts. The 1-2. Mookie launches this one into left field. That one is gone. And the Los Angeles Dodgers are on the board first. They lead at 1-0. Edward Cabrera does not allow the long ball. Just 9 home runs led up by him in the regular season. But now he allows one to Mookie Betts, going 110 off the bat, nearly 400 feet. And so it's the Dodgers on the board first here in Game 1. Cabrera mislocated his slider on that pitch. So this time he will strike out Austin Hayes looking on the fastball. Not a bad inning, though, for the Dodgers as they put themselves on the board. Bottom 2, here is Jesus Sanchez, who draws a walk. Sanchez historically is given a very big strike zone, so I'm surprised the umpire gave him that call. Doesn't look like it's going to matter. The next 3 batters will all be out, finished off by a Yandy Diaz flyout into center. 1-0 remains your score with the Dodgers ahead. Into the 3rd, James Outman leads it off, and he will check his swing. The umpire says he went around. Other than the Mookie Betts homer, Edward Cabrera looks like a man on a mission as he strikes out the catcher, Diego Cartaya, for the 2nd out of the inning. Looking to strike out the side. It won't happen with Vargas, who lines out to 2nd. The former Dodger, Gavin Lux, makes the play. That's 3 innings from Cabrera. Only 1 base runner allowed. But that was the home run by Betts, which has the Dodgers still ahead 1-0. We'll see if the Marlins can score here in the bottom of the 3rd. Luis Arraez finds himself ahead 3-1, gets a nice pitch to swing at. What a play! It's short by Oneil Cruz, but he misses the throw. They're going to call that an E6 against Cruz. I feel like they should call it a base hit. That was a really tough play for Oneil Cruz to make. And now we've got a wild pitch from Ohtani. Luis Arraez advances to 2nd, and with that, the Marlins have a runner in scoring position with nobody out, thanks to a called error, and now a wild pitch. Big opportunity for Brian De La Cruz. He draws a walk. Now there's 2 runners aboard. Jazz Chisholm is one of the best clutch hitters in baseball. What an opportunity for him to come alive, especially being ahead 3-1, and he will do exactly that. 110 off the bat, off the wall in right field. Run scores, and the Marlins tie it up. It's an RBI double for Jazz Chisholm. We are knotted up at 1, and the Marlins still have 2 runners in scoring position with nobody out. That'll bring up Woody Landry, full count. Woody grounds this one over to first. Freeman will tag the base, but Brian De La Cruz scores, and Jazz Chisholm advances to 3rd. The Marlins take a 2-1 lead. Bo Bichette flies this one into left center. This one will be caught. Perfect opportunity for the sacrifice. Good throw from left, but Jazz Chisholm is barely safe. Successful sacrifice fly for Bo Bichette, and the Miami Marlins extend the lead. It's now 3-1. Jesus Sanchez draws another walk, his 2nd. The Marlins continuing to get base runners this inning as Fortes hits this one high and fairly deep into left field. Actually, that one really didn't go too deep. The left fielder did not have to move at all. Rough inning, though, for Ohtani. It was showtime, but for the Marlins offense, they score 3 and lead the Dodgers 3-1 through 3. Let's move into the 4th inning now. We'll see if Edward Cabrera can continue to dominate. He'll face off against Freddie Freeman, who will bloop this one into left field. and that'll drop in front of Sanchez for a base hit. So the Dodgers start the inning with a runner aboard, and that'll bring up the heart of the order. That starts with Brendan Donovan, who strikes out on the curveball for out number 1. Next up is Shohei Ohtani. He will hit this one high and deep into right field. De La Cruz at the track of the wall. It is foul! Only 2.6 feet away from the pole. Full count now for Ohtani. He'll take a walk, so it's not a failure of an at-bat, but could have been a homer. Oneil Cruz, the National League MVP, also draws a walk. And the Dodgers have loaded the bases for Mookie Betts, who strikes out on the fastball. That was a big one for Edward Cabrera. He needed it. Can Cabrera get the Dodgers slacking with the bases loaded? Hayes flies it into center field. Jazz Chisholm under it. He'll make the play as the Dodgers leave him loaded. They score nobody here in the 4th, although that was certainly not a pretty inning from Edward Cabrera, and it's still 3-1. Gavin Lux, the former Dodger, leads off the bottom of the 4th, gets a great pitch to swing at, but Freddie Freeman grabs the liner, scooping it before it reaches the dirt. Yandy Diaz up now, looks at the inside slider. He'll take his base. Ohtani's control just doesn't look right for whatever reason. He will strike out De La Cruz, though, on the low slider. That one completely fooled him. As Ohtani is through 4, the pitch count has gotten really high thanks to all the walks. We'll see if the Dodgers make a pitching change. Diego Cartaya up in the 5th. Going to be a tough play at short by Bichette. And he will make the throw for the second out of the inning. The Marlins defense has looked quite good today. No mental errors from them. Vargas into shallow right. De La Cruz is under it. 1-2-3 inning for Edward Cabrera. And that kind of poses the question, now that we're through 5, how much longer is Cabrera going to go? The wheels don't appear to be falling off anytime soon. Can't say the same, though, about Ohtani. He'll be replaced by Ryan Pepio, who's thrown a lot of innings this year. Jazz Chisholm grounds it to third. Going to be a tough play, and the throw is in time. That one was bobbled at third by Miguel Vargas, but he will make the play. Woody Landry is up now. He's behind 1-2. And he checks his swing, but he got hit, and he did not go around. So Woody Landry is aboard. Bo Bichette now up. He drove in a run thanks to a sac fly in his last at-bat. Hits it up the middle. That'll go for a base hit. And the Marlins have 2 runners aboard. They lead this game by 2, and they are certainly comfortable with their pitchers, but I'm sure they'd love to extend the lead. Sanchez hits this one high and deep. Back at the track of the wall. It's caught. Uneventful play there. I really thought that one had enough carry for Jesus Sanchez, but it just barely stays in the ballpark. Woody Landry does advance over to third, though. Not that it really matters all that much. Nick Fortes is up now. Full count for him with 2 away and runners on the corners. Up the middle. Going to be a tough play for Oneil Cruz. And the throw to first is way offline. Both runners will advance. Woody Landry already scored. That's Oneil Cruz's 2nd error of the game, and it's 4-1 Miami. Runners in scoring position for Lux, who swings and misses at the fastball. And Ryan Pepio gets out of the inning. The Marlins leave 2 in scoring position, but they do add another run as it's 4-1. Cabrera still in the game as he strikes out Freddie Freeman for the first out here in the top of the 6th. That'll bring up Brendan Donovan. The pitch from Cabrera, swinging a miss on the fastball. Cabrera's pitch count is now in the triple digits. But again, I'm not really seeing the signs of him slowing down. Ohtani rips this one down the line perfectly. Talk about beating the shift to a T. It rolls all the way to the warning track, and it'll be a double for Ohtani. If not for the shift, that's probably a ground out. But instead, the Dodgers now the runner in scoring position. Quite the opportunity for Oneil Cruz, who lines it in the left. Sanchez makes the play. That's 6 innings of 1-run ball for Edward Cabrera. And the Marlins have an interesting decision. Do you keep him out for the 7th, or do you remove him here? Let's see how the bottom of the 6th goes first. De La Cruz strikes out. Pepio retires beside. Very uneventful inning. It appears that Edward Cabrera will stay in the game, probably on a short leash, but the Marlins trust their Cy Young caliber ace. Mookie Betts starts with a grounder to third. Luis Ariz is there for the first out. I would have to assume this would be Cabrera's last inning, bearing something crazy like it goes super quick, and so far, so good. Gavin Lux, nice play at second for out number 2. Maybe Cabrera's day isn't done after this inning. Who knows? James Outman is up now with a full count. Pitch 123 for Cabrera. Grounder up the middle. Bichette cannot make the play, and that'll go for a single. So the Dodgers get a runner aboard. We'll see if they can potentially cut into the deficit. That'll bring up the number 9 hitter, that being the catcher Diego Cartaya. The count is 1-1. Cartaya pops this one up into center. Jazz Chisholm is under it. He should be able to make the play, and he will. 7 innings, 1 earned run from Edward Cabrera. He will not return for the 8th inning. What a performance from the ace of this staff, continuing to prove that he should have won the Cy Young. And at this point, it's 2 consecutive years of him being dominant. He has truly become one of, if not maybe the best pitcher in the game. Jazz Chisholm leads off the bottom of the 7th. I don't know what he was waiting for. That pitch was right down the middle, but it is a called strike 3. Woody Landry is up now. Count is 2-2. He swings and misses at the fastball. A good pitch by Pepio for out number 2. We'll see if the Dodgers can retire the side. It's Bo Bichette who skies this one into center. James Outman should be under it to make the play, and he will. I got to give Ryan Pepio credit. That's back-to-back 1-2-3 innings. He's kept the Dodgers in the game, but unfortunately for them, they had to play against Edward Cabrera, and now they have to meet the back end of the Marlins bullpen. That starts with Camilo Doval, who only threw 33 innings. That feels too low. He should have pitched more, but when he did pitch, he was dominant. 1.87 ERA, 0.68 whip. The guy does not allow base runners. And right as I say that, Freddie Freeman singles into left. Fitting. That's Freeman's second hit of the game as the Dodgers have a runner aboard for Brendan Donovan, who strikes out on the sinker. It's been a rough one for Donovan. You'd think of all people who'd get on base, it would be him. Shohei Ohtani up, swings before the pitch was thrown as Camilo Doval makes it through the 8th. The Marlins are 1 inning away from taking Game 1 here at home. Jalen Beeks will come into the game for the Dodgers out of the bullpen. The lefty's had a strong season, 3.26 ERA. He'll retire the side, finished off by a strikeout from the pinch hitter Ryan Poles, the former Hofstra alum, making his first career postseason appearance, and it's pretty uneventful. Now it's time for Devin Williams to get the save. The All-Star closer was 39 of 45 in save ops this year. ERA barely above 3, whip below 1. He had a fantastic year as Cruz pops it up into foul territory. Jacob Berrien is a defensive substitution. Is there for out number 1. 2 more to go. That'll bring us to the number 6 hitter, that being Mookie Betts. The only run source today at the Dodgers. He hit the homer earlier. It's a 1-hopper to short. Bichette makes the play. That's 2. The Marlins need 1 more, and the game comes down to the number 7 hitter, that being Austin Hayes. Down to the final strike. Hayes up the middle, past the gloves of Williams, and a rise for a single. And the Dodgers have the runner. They're not going to quit quite yet. That'll bring us to the following batter. It's the outfielder James Outman. We'll see what he can do here as he's behind 1-2. The Dodgers again down to their final strike. Pitch from Williams. Swing and a miss on the screwball. Marlins win it 4-1 here in Game 1 of the National League Wild Card, and the Marlins will have the opportunity to sweep the Dodgers in just a moment. But first, we're going to recap this game, talk about what went right for the Marlins and what did not go as right, because it was certainly not a perfect game, but the pitching was absolutely fantastic. Edward Cabrera, I've been gassing him up throughout the episode, and boy, did he show out. 7 innings, 4 hits, 2 walks, only 1 earned run allowed. That was a home run by Mookie Betts, striking out 8. He just looked dominant. I've been saying that he's been the best pitcher in baseball this year, and he backed it up. The bullpen, Doval and Williams, phenomenal. The Dodgers lineup really did not get much going in this game, but they still had more hits than we did. We only had 4 hits today. That's not a lot. We need more out of the offense. 4 runs is normally a decent number, but 4 hits is not. And you can't expect to get 4 runs consistently if you're going to get limited base runners like this. We just happen to have a really strong 3rd inning that ultimately propelled us. But the offense is going to need to be better because we do not have 5 Edward Cabreras in the rotation, and not every game is going to be this dominant of a pitching performance. So because of that, the offense has to wake up, and it will be probably easier in Game 2 because we don't have to play against Shohei Ohtani. Tony Gonsolin is no slouch, but we have the significant advantage, in my opinion, within the starting pitching matchup. Sandy Alcantara is as good of a number 2 as you're going to find. As for Tony Gonsolin, he's been really inconsistent over the last couple of years. He's a good player but he just hasn't really had that start-to-start consistency that the Dodgers have hoped for. And if he has a rough outing, this could trend south quick. I'm really curious to see how it goes. The Marlins are rocking with the Dome today for Game 2 as they look to get the sweep and win their first playoff series of the entire franchise. Can we get the job done tonight, or will we need a Game 3 with a hilariously ironic potential pitching matchup between Skubal and Luzardo? The Marlins are mostly sticking with the same lineup, although Jacob Berry will be getting the start instead of Gavin Lux. Let's take a look at Sandy Alcantara, who was not necessarily himself this year, but he wasn't bad. 3.65 ERA, 1.24 whip. Again, for a number 2, this is dominant, but you do expect more out of Sandy Alcantara as he faces off against Miguel Vargas, who will start with an early walk. The Dodgers rocking with their blue jerseys today as they now face off against Brendan Donovan. He had a rough first game, grounded to second. Arise over to Bichette to first, not in time. It's a fielder's choice. The Marlins were going for 2 to try to end the inning. Instead, they only get 1, as that will bring up the cleanup hitter, O'Neal Cruz. Shohei Ohtani hit cleanup in Game 1, but Ohtani today not in the lineup. Interesting strategy by the Dodgers as Cruz goes down looking, and Sandy makes it through the inning. Let's take a look at Tony Gonsolin, 4.05 ERA, 1.25 whip. Again, not bad, but there just isn't really much consistency with him. It could be a really good start for him, but it also could be a train wreck. So let's see how it goes. Luis Arise gets things started. He'll take a walk. The Marlins get themselves a base runner here, and that will bring up Brian De La Cruz, who also finds himself ahead 3-1. He does not draw a walk. Instead, he grounds into a double play. Not ideal. That was a ball, too. He should not have swung, but he did, and it backfires. That'll bring up Jazz Chisholm now. Chisholm had a solid all-around Game 1 offensively and on defense. He strikes out, though, on the splitter. And Tony Gonsolin gets through the inning as nobody scores. Mookie Betts had the homer in the first game, the only source of runs for the Dodgers, and he will strike out looking on the fastball. Good start to the inning for Sandy. That'll bring up Austin Hayes now, who hits this one well into right field. That's going to drop for a single. And the Marlins allow a hit here to Hayes, who gets the Dodgers a base runner. We'll see if their offense can try to set the tone and get things rolling quickly. Deshaun Baxter up next, grounds it up the middle, nearly rips Sandy's head off. Hayes looks to advance to third. He is safe. The Dodgers have runners on the corners with 1 out. This is a golden opportunity to get some runs across, as that'll bring up James Outman. He swings and misses on the sinker. Big pitch by Sandy Alcantara, but he's still got to get another out here against the catcher, Diego Cartaya, with a full count. This one is ripped down the line and fair. 1 run will score. A second will look to join, and he will be safe. It's a 2-run double for Diego Cartaya, and the Los Angeles Dodgers lead it 2-0. That'll bring up Miguel Vargas. Rips this one into the gap, and that'll score another one. This one should be an RBI double for Vargas, and the Dodgers lead it 3-0. A disastrous end to the second inning for Sandy Alcantara. I talked about at the beginning of the episode how these young guys haven't really developed to the Dodgers' expectations, but they single-handedly just gave them 3 runs. Freddie Freeman, meanwhile, flies out to center, but still a big inning for the Dodgers. They drive in 3, and just as I said, the offense has to wake up. The Dodgers look a lot better at the plate today than they did in Game 1. Woody Landry leads off the bottom of the second. He will strike out on the splitter. That ball in the dirt. Should not have swung at it. Bo Bichette is up now. Count is evened up at 2-2. Pitch from Gonsolin. He strikes out as well. 3 consecutive strikeouts for Gonsolin. The Marlins really struggling to put the bat to the ball. Jesus Sanchez will take a walk, though. His 3rd walk so far at the playoffs already. Great discipline from Sanchez. That'll now bring up the catcher, Nick Fortes. Gets a high-hanging pitch. Should have capitalized, but instead it's a weak pop-up. And Freddie Freeman comes down with it. 3-0 through 2. The Dodgers look good early, but still plenty of game left to be played. Let's move into the 3rd. It's O'Neal Cruz up for the Dodgers. He hits this one well into the opposite field. High, deep. That ball is out of here. It is a solo shot for the National League MVP, O'Neal Cruz. And the Dodgers extend their lead. It's now 4-0. Sandy Alcantara does not look like himself. And if you go back to last year in Game 2 of the playoffs where the Marlins could have won the series, Sandy again struggled in that game. Mookie Betts does strike out, though. Austin Hayes is up now. He got the rally started in the last inning, and now he will end the third inning. But still not a bad inning for the Dodgers. They extend the lead with the homer by O'Neill Cruz. They're off to a great start. They lead it 4-0, and the Marlins, meanwhile, do not even have a hit yet. Will Jacob Berry be the guy to change that? No. He strikes out on the splitter for out number 1. The Marlins still cannot hit Tony Gonsolin to save their lives. Yandy Diaz is up now. He rips this one into the gap, and that's going to drop. Finally, a base hit. It took the entire way through the lineup, but better late than never, and we'll see if the Marlins can get some offense going here in the bottom of the third. That'll bring up Luis Arraez. Of course, we know he's a great contact hitter. This is the type of situation he specializes in, especially being ahead in the count, 3-1. Arraez gets that one past the diving glove of Freddie Freeman for a single. Freeman nearly made that play. That could have been a double play to end the inning. The Marlins are lucky that it's still going. That'll now bring up Brian De La Cruz, 2-1. Big opportunity. We talked about his improvements with runners in scoring position. He goes down looking on the fastball. Not ideal. Big opportunity now for Jazz Chisholm. This is a guy who does have a lot of success with runners in scoring position. He hits this one high and kind of deep. Actually, not really. James Outman makes the play, and the Marlins leave 2 stranded here in the third. At least they got some hits going, but they still trail 4-0. Sandy Alcantara's got to have a really short leash at this point. He is really starting to struggle as he walks to Sean Baxter. James Outman strikes out on the slider. Good pitch for out number 1. We'll see if Sandy can try to get his cool back and look like the ace that we know he can be. He'll get Diego Cartaya to strike out looking. Cartaya drove in 2 during his last at-bat. Vargas drew in 1 as well, as he will strike out on the slider. Good inning for Sandy Alcantara as it remains a 4-0 ball game. Can the offense get something rolling here in the bottom of the fourth? It starts with the young first baseman, Woody Landry, a guy who has shown the ability to play well in the postseason, but not on this at-bat. He strikes out on the splitter. Tony Gonsolin continuing to dominate. I said he looks inconsistent. He has some good games and his bad games. This one looks like one of those good performances that he has. Bo Bichette up the middle. Cruz bobbles it. Or more so, he deflects it. But nonetheless, Bo Bichette is safe at first with an infield single. So that'll bring a runner on here for Jesus Sanchez. No hits yet in the playoffs, but he does have 3 walks. He's been able to get on base, which has been a big deal. And we'll see what he can do here with Bichette stealing second. Sanchez strikes out. Cartaya drops the ball as he's preparing to throw it. So there's a runner in scoring position, but now there's 2 away. That was Gonsolin's 7th K of the day. That'll bring up Fortes, who crushes it into left field. That ball is out of here. 2-run blast for Nick Fortes. And the Marlins are on the board. It's 4-2. That was a hanging pitch right down the middle. I don't know what Tony Gonsolin was thinking, and Fortes capitalizes. He had 15 homers in the regular season, and his biggest of the year now in the postseason. It's his 4-2 game, but the Marlins are not done. Jacob Berry into the left field corner. That'll go for an opposite field double, and the Marlins have another runner aboard here in scoring position. They're not satisfied. They're looking for more. That'll bring up Yandy Diaz, who got a base hit during his last at-bat. Diaz pops this one up. Could be a close play, but O'Neill Cruz will make the play. Still, nonetheless, a very successful inning with a 2-run blast by Nick Fortes to get the Marlins on the board with their first homer of the playoffs. Brendan Donovan up here in the 5th finally gets his first base hit of the playoffs. Not without a great effort by Bo Bichette, but it is an infield single. The leash is continuing to get shorter and shorter for Sandy. He strikes out O'Neill Cruz. That's out number 2. Will Alcantara make it through the inning? Mookie Betts rips it down the line and fair. That might be it for Sandy. As Betts gets a double, the runner at third wisely will hold up. And now there's runners in scoring position. Sandy Alcantara has not looked like himself. And the Marlins do not trust him to get out of this jam. So he'll be replaced by A.J. Puck, who quietly had a good year. He started off slowly, but really ever since the All-Star break, he's been one of the best relievers on the team as he faces off against Austin Hayes with a broken bat. Blooper to first. Woody Landry's going to take it himself. That was a really close play. The Marlins should not have been playing with fire there, but Puck gets through the inning as it remains 4-2. We'll see if the offense can keep things rolling after a strong fourth inning. As Arise grounds it to first. What a play. Freddie Freeman showing off the glove work. He may be a little older now, but he can still move. That'll bring up Brian De La Cruz, who lines this one high and pretty deep into right center field. Back at the track of the wall. It's gone! Solo home run for Brian De La Cruz. And the Marlins bring you within one. They're going to cut the lead in half, and it's now a 4-3 ball game. The power has awoken. Homer for Fortes in the last inning. Now De La Cruz gets one here. That one barely scraping over the fence, but it went over the fence. That's all that matters. Tony Gonsolin looked dominant through the first 3.5 innings, but then it's fallen apart. He allows 2 homers, and he'll be taken out of the game, replaced by the 28-year-old Landon Knack. He'll face off against Jazz Chisholm with 1 away, and Jazz strikes out on the curveball. The Marlins have done a good job cutting into this deficit. Now's their opportunity to tie or take the lead. It won't happen in this inning. Woody Landry strikes out on the changeup. Landon Knack gets through the rest of the inning. Brian De La Cruz homers to bring it within 1. A.J. Puck staying in the game here in the 6th as Outman grounds it to first. Good play by Woody Landry showing off the glove. He's obviously not as old as Freddie Freeman, but still good to see him making the play. Woody Landry idolized Freddie Freeman as a kid, being that Woody Landry's a Georgia boy, grew up a big Braves fan. Now he's obviously with the enemy as Cartaya grounds it to second. Luis Arraez makes the play. A.J. Puck retires the side. Good job out of the bullpen by Puck. Faces off against 4 batters. No damage done. The middle of the order up to the Marlins as they look to tie or take the lead here in the bottom of the 6th. It'll start with Bo Bichette. He has a hit in each of the first 2 playoff games, and he gets another one into the gap. That'll go for a single. For whatever reason, Bichette decided to run towards second. He will wisely retreat back. So the Marlins start the inning with a base hit, and with that, the Dodgers make another pitching change, focusing on the lefty-on-lefty matchup with Jesus Sanchez up next, as it's Jalen Beeks entering the game. Sanchez hit nearly 300, though, against lefties. What can he do here? He strikes out on the way inside circle change. Not ideal, especially for a guy who's been so disciplined throughout the playoffs. Fortes swings at a pitch he absolutely should not have. That cutter nearly could have hit him, but it'll go for a base hit. Very unconventional, but it gets the job done. The Marlins' plate discipline in this game has not been very good. They are really being aggressive. And right as I say that, Jacob Berry draws a walk. So the bases are loaded. What an opportunity for Yandy Diaz, who bloops this one into right field. Going to be a tough play for Mookie. He cannot make the play. 1 run will score. 2nd run right behind. It's a 2-run double for Yandy Diaz, and the Miami Marlins take the lead. It's now 5-4, and they've still got 2 more guys in scoring position with just 1 away. Luis Arraez will look to drive both of them in. Single into center, 1 scores. Diaz is safe at the plate. It's a 2-run single for Luis Arraez, and it's 7-4. The pitching change, clearly a mistake from the Dodgers. And with that, Jalen Beeks will be replaced by Ryan Pepia, who I thought pitched quite well for the Dodgers in Game 1. And now he's got some work to do here in Game 2, being that the Dodgers are down by 3. Jazz Chisholm draws a walk. 2 runners aboard, 2 away. Big opportunity for Woody Landry, who's been quiet in this game. He's 0 for 3, and he's behind 1-2. Pitch from Pepio. Landry pops it up. He got that right on the sweet spot at the bat, but it only goes into shallow foul territory. Freeman makes the play, but still a big inning. The Marlins score 4, and they take the lead 7-4 with a 2-run double by Diaz and a 2-run single by Arraez. Reynaldo Lopez will come into the bullpen here in the 7th as he faces off against Brendan Donovan, who strikes out. Lopez quickly retires the side. The Marlins are in the driver's seat. They're in position to win this game, get the sweep, move on to the NLDS. We'll see if they can get the job done. J.P. Fierison will come into the game out of the bullpen now for the Dodgers. He's had a really good year, 1.85 ERA, .86 whip. He'll face off against Jesus Sanchez, who is a full count. Sanchez looking to add another walk. And it's not going to happen as he strikes out on the outside fastball for out number 2. That'll bring up Nick Fortes, who's had a pretty good game. Homer back in the 4th. He had a weird hit in his last at-bat. Still a hit. But this time he strikes out on the outside slider. Good inning for Fierison, but the Marlins still lead by 3. Dylan Tate, Mr. Consistency, now in the game here in the 8th. Devin Williams obviously warming up for the 9th. Camilo Duvall getting loose as well. One away for Mookie Betts. He checks his swing on the sinker. Umpire behind the plate says he went around. Austin Hayes now 1-2. Grounder to second. Luis Ariz will make the play, and the Marlins are 1 inning away from winning this game and sweeping the Dodgers here in the wild card round. They're so close. They can just taste victory, but they've got to hold on. Miguel Castro will come out of the bullpen here for the Dodgers in the bottom of the 8th. His numbers are not so good on the year. 6.25 ERA, 1.53 whip. That's not great. The Marlins have a real opportunity to capitalize and really try to close out this game. That'll start with Ryan Poles, another pinch opportunity for him. He once again does nothing with it as he strikes out. 2 away now for Luis Ariz. He drove in 2 during his last at-bat. Flies this one into left center field, and it will be caught. So the situation is set. The Marlins lead by 3 going into the 9th, and it's time for the closer, Devin Williams, to get the job done and send the Marlins to the NLDS. Williams pitched in Game 1. He got the save, and he looked pretty good doing so, only allowing the 1 hit. And this is really a closer's dream when you're up by 3, because it's still a save opportunity, but you don't have as much pressure on you. Deshaun Baxter goes down looking on the cutter. There's 1. 2 more still to go. James Outman grounds it to short. Bo Bichette, slow to get to it. He was lollygagging. And because of that, Outman is aboard with an infield single. Diego Cartaya flies it into right. Sanchez under it. That's 2. But the Marlins still need 1 more, and so that'll bring up the top of the order. Miguel Vargas is up for the Dodgers. Los Angeles down to their final strike of the season. 2-2 count for Vargas. Williams looks to get him on the outside cutter. Going to be a tough play for Jazz Chisholm, and he makes the throw. It's over. The Marlins have won it 7-4. They sweep the Los Angeles Dodgers here in the best-of-3 wildcard series. The Marlins are going to the NLDS with a date against the NL East champion Atlanta Braves, who have been the best team in baseball. But the Marlins are ready for the challenge. We have not won a playoff series yet in this series until right now. So we're going to friggin' enjoy it because it's a pretty awesome feeling. 2 very strong wins. In Game 1, it was about the pitching. In Game 2, it was about the offense. The Dodgers hit the ball a lot better than they did in Game 1, especially early. They were able to really rock Sandy Alcantara, but they could not do any damage once our bullpen came into the game. Tony Gonsolin started off strong, but then he kind of tapered off, and our offense played really well towards the middle of this game. We had the 2 homers to start things off by Fortes to drive in 2, solo homer by De La Cruz, and then Diaz and Ariz each drove in 2 in the 6th to kind of ice the game. Sandy Alcantara was not great, but the bullpen was. Just 1 base runner allowed in 4 1/3 innings by the bullpen. Incredible work, gentlemen. So now we've got the Atlanta Braves waiting for us in the NLDS. And we've been following the Braves all year, being that they've been atop our division. And I think we've got a real shot to knock these guys off. I think they're the best team in baseball as we take a look at the other results around the league. The 3-seeded Rangers move on. The 5-seeded Angels move on. And then the 6-seeded Philadelphia Phillies, who seem to always get the 6th seed and always seem to win in the first round, do just that as they beat the Padres. Our series was the only one that ended up as a sweep. The other ones went all 3 games, interestingly enough. So let's look at the Atlanta Braves. We know these guys are good. They're the 2nd-ranked team in the game. Keep in mind, we are the team who is in first. And their roster on paper is obviously loaded. They've done an incredible job of being able to build up a core, but I will say we've played better than them against each other in the regular season. Of the 4 series against Atlanta, we won 3 of them. Now, I will say the most recent series, we lost, losing the final 2 games, but we have played quite well this year against Atlanta, especially on the road. I think we absolutely have what it takes to beat this team, but the Braves are another veteran squad who's been there, done that. A lot of these guys were on the 2021 World Series team, so they know what it takes to win in the playoffs. Next episode, we've got Games 1 and 2 of the NLDS in Atlanta. Tarek Skubal will be on the mound for the first one, and then for the second game, who the hell knows? I really have not gotten that far ahead. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode, though. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Peace out.